Hi everyone, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I'm Vic Cundiff and I'll be your host for the show. Before we bring on tonight's guest, if you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you. If you've had a Sasquatch sighting and would like to be a guest on Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio, please go to bigfooteyewitness.com and submit a report. All right, let's bring on tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is Bob. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vic. Good to be here.
Well, it's great having you. Thanks so much for your time. Bob, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
My name is Nathan Roberts Lane. All my friends and family call me Bob. I'm 49 years old. I spent 12 years in the Irish Army. I've done a couple of tours overseas to the Lebanon. I used the money from that to marry my wife. And God bless us with 4 lovely kids, 3 boys and a girl. Since I came out of the Army, I work in securities. And I'm an MMA teacher in Dublin, Ireland.
You sure stay busy, Bob.
I do. A rolling stone gathers no moss, Vic, as they say. So yeah, I like to keep myself busy. Obviously I train a lot of people. I do a lot of fishing. I do a lot of shooting, and having 3 boys as well. I have my hands full. That's not even getting involved with my daughter and my wife. Yeah, so I'm pretty busy. Yeah.
Yeah, sure sounds like it. You traveled to America for a month-long vacation, but that vacation turned out to be anything but a pleasant getaway. Did your Dogman encounter here ruin your whole vacation, or would you say that trip was still worthwhile?
Oh, it was definitely still worthwhile. It was my second time ever being in America. The first time was for a wedding in North Carolina. And then the second time was going back to see more of the sights, and we got to do that. We got to see absolutely everything and so much more. But yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it being over there. So it was, I don't know. Would I go back? Yes, I definitely would. I don't think I'd go near the forests, though.
No, I understand. You told me in one of our conversations that you have a hard time wrapping your head around the idea that you'd like to have another encounter with the Dogman. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you're leaving out the important part. I also said I'd like to have that encounter from a blimp about 2 miles up in the air. I don't I don't know. I know what I was saying, and I wasn't by myself. And even sitting here now talking about it, it hit you in the stomach. It was petrifying. But I don't know. It's awoken a curiosity that's in me, and the things just it scared the life out of me, and that's never happened before. I was in the Lebanon for a couple of tours. I've been teaching fighters for 20 odd years, and I've been ringside a good few times, and I don't get scared. And even talking about this now, I have a tremble in my hand, and I don't know. I don't know. We'll see in time, Vic. I'll be back to Carolina, definitely. But would I like to see one again on the ground? Not a hope. Not now at this time, no. But I will be back. Temporarily knocked down is all it is.
Well, like you said earlier, maybe from inside of a tank you would.
Yeah, they're not going to charge. Well, they probably would charge a tank, but like, I think you'd definitely be on a winner in a tank. Just on foot, you're in trouble, you know?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good scene. You also said that your reality has changed so much in the past 3 months since your encounter that it's hard to believe. Please expand on that for us.
Well, it's 3 months and 1 week as of yesterday, the 19th of November. I don't know. I went to school as a kid. I lived in Santa Claus. I grew up to be a man. I was blessed with a lovely wife, 4 great kids. Christmas trees. I work with martial artists all the time. I work in the security industry as well. So I'm so based in reality that saying something like that, it's unquestionable that they're there. So what else is there? It's just like, I don't know, there's no mention of these things in no Bibles, or there's no, I fail to see how you can see something like that and it not absolutely change everything. Absolutely everything. Where did he come from? Is there more of them? I don't know. This is the curiosity side, but I just feel like I haven't wrapped my mind fully around it, and I will. And when I do, we'll go from there. But the world is different. When you look out the window, it's different. Nothing feels the same since it happened. Nothing. Still love my kids, love my wife, love my dogs, love everything, love my job. But even in work, sometimes, as I said, I work with mixed martial artists, MMA fighters, K1 fighters. And you're looking at these big lads and you're thinking to yourself, my God, how could I ever tell these people, you know? But these people don't know it. And yet it's as real as the nose on your face. So if you see something like this and it doesn't change who you are, I don't know. I have no explanation for how it can't alter everything. Like,
You raise some really good points. If they're out there and if they're real, then, like you said, what else is real? It's a pretty disconcerting thought. From what I understand, your oldest brother is having a particularly hard time dealing with your encounter. Do you think he's ever going to get over it?
I'd hope so. I got to try my very best with him to snap him out of it and to try bring him back around. He's a strong bloke, but it really, really has, it's knocked him, you know. I've talked to him an awful lot since we got back on the phone, and he was closed up for a good while, you know, and over the last month or so, I'm kind of getting more conversation out of him. It's rattled him, though. It's really deeply rattled him to the point where he's withdrawn from his wife and kids, and his own wife even said it to me, like, did something happen over there? And I said to her, he says bears and, you know, the usual stuff. Like, I says, it's just, he's never seen anything like that. And I says, sometimes it's just shock. People actually seeing that sort of stuff in front of them. So she's kind of swallowing that, but I don't think she's going to forever, you know. But yeah, I still am worried about him because he's senior in his job and he's settled in his ways and he's 12 years older than I am, so he's no spring chicken either. And the biggest thing he's ever seen in his life was at the zoo, you know, and he had a crystal clear look straight at one of these dogmen, basically mullering a deer. When I say mullering, I mean he was after eating half the thing. And from him saying what he's saying, I just think it's shock. I think the lad is completely and utterly in shock. He's not in denial. He knows what he's saying. But yeah, it shocked him to the core. Indeed, it shocked me as well. Like, you know, I talk about it and I go a little bit tetchy. And I still, as I told you yourself, Vic, I walk my dog every night, and right behind my house there's a place called Memorial Court. And I walk up into the park a little bit, and I won't walk any further into the trees or anything. I'm not having any of that for a while. So it's shock is what it is. And I think of us all, he got the worst shock out of it. So yeah, I'm worried about him, but I'll bring him out of it. I'll try my best.
It sounds like he did get the worst out of it, but like I told you in our first conversation, if he ever comes around and is interested in talking with me about this, then yeah, by all means, I'll be here and let him know that.
100%. I think it'd do him the world of good, but I think he's just going to take a little bit to get there. Like, you know, I don't know, he's still as white as a ghost, being honest. When we got back into the RVs, he was as white as a pint of milk, and he still is. So I know he's waking up a lot of nights sweating. I've done it so many nights myself. You just sit up in the bed and you're bucketing sweating. You're at the being saying them in your head, in your sleep. And I know he's going through the same thing. So I think he's further along the road, you see. He's older than I am, so I think this will be a bigger shock to him, you know?
Yeah, sounds like it must have been. All right, Bob, you've got a lot to share with us, so please tell us about your encounter now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Okay, so I'll give you a brief little run in here into how we ended up back in Charlotte. So about 4 or 5 years ago, my best friend growing up is a lad called Gary. Well, he married a girl called Karina. Now, Karina is from Charlotte, North Carolina. So we basically, there was a load of us. We flew over, we had the wedding, St. Matthew's Church, and we stayed up in a lovely hotel up in, I think it's East Trade Street. And we basically invited them over. And then in return, we were going back to visit them and go on a little road trip for about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. So we basically set it up. We flew from Heathrow to Charlotte, Douglas Airport, early November. We got picked up by Jake. That's Karina's dad. Jake has a younger son called Jake as well, and he's another son called Stephen. So we were picked up by the two Jakes, and we drove back to the house in Charlotte. So we basically stayed there for about a week. As I said, my wife came with me as well. So there was a few of the girls decided what to do was a bit of early Christmas shopping, and the lads would just soak in the sights and go see a few things, and then we'd head out on our road trip. So we were there for about a week before we headed out. We decided to go down to Beaufort County down in South Carolina. That's where Steve lives. Now, Steve is the older son of Jake. He's the eldest of the two boys. But Steve has his own place down in Beaufort. So what we done was we drove down to him and we stayed there for a couple of nights and then we headed off. So altogether there was 12 of us in 3 RVs, campers we'd call them. We headed north, it would be. From Beaufort, we headed up towards Nantahala Park and Cherokee Park and Pisaga and all that. And we stayed in each one, I'd say for about 6 or 7 nights. Done a bit of hunting, a bit of fishing, a bit of this, that and the other. Well, it was more target shooting than anything else we were doing. But we done a lot of drinking and we had sang some ballads and we had a great old crack. Then we decided what we'd do is we'd swing down and we'd go see Fayetteville, down closer to the coast, I suppose it'd be. So we drove towards it, and what we done was we basically headed towards, there's a place called Elizabethtown. Before it, there's a park. It's a big national state park called Lumber State Park, I think it's called. And we pulled into the outskirts of that for the night. Now, this was on the 19th of November, 2019. So we didn't stay in the park. We stayed on the outskirts of it. What I remember is we were driving and we crossed a little small arched iron bridge and we drove for another few 100 meters on past that until we came up. There was like a long, skinny, yellow metal security gate on this. It was like an entrance into it. Well, we drove past that probably 500-600 meters down the road and there's like a clearing on a corner. So we just pulled the 3 RVs in there. And we got out, we all stretched our legs, had a little chat. And we all, as we done almost every night, we all ended up in one RV. We were all telling stories, singing ballads, having a drink, cleaning the guns and so on. Now, we had 2 dogs with us as well, Barden and Bear. They're 2 big Alsatians. So there was a lot of us, in the little RV. We were having the crack and we were singing a few songs. And I'd say it was, I know it was after 8 anyway, when we crossed the bridge, probably 2-3 beers into it. So I'd say it must have been around 9:30 to 10 o'clock, maybe, give or take a half hour in either side. We were all drinking and we were talking. And the way the RV is that at the bottom of it, you have a window and you have seats on the table where you can move the table and you pull out the seats and that's a bed. But we were all sitting around there. There was a few people sitting up towards the kitchen where when you open the door in the middle of the RV, you step straight in and there's a kitchen on your left-hand side and then there's space then on your right. So there was a few sitting at the door and then there was a few of us sitting at the back, sitting at the window. And we heard a bang, but we seen the RV beside us move. And we were like, what in the name of God? So the dogs started barking and the usual. So we all out the door and we looked, but there was nothing there. But we went down and there was over the side window, there was dints over the top of it. It was like something was at the hitting it. We kind of looked around and there was nothing there. Was it a bit of a tree at the, whatever it was? We looked and we seen absolutely nothing there. So we were a bit miffed when we got back into the middle RV and we were sitting there and we were still talking and kind of keeping an eye out. At that time then we'd heard a couple of howls off in the distance. Now, these were a fair bit away. We knew they weren't within 100 meters, we'd say. And then when we heard the bang, we'd heard it again, probably within 100 meters. So when we were sitting in the RV, we'd heard the howls from a distance. The thing had been banged. We'd gotten out. We'd had a look. Jake shined his mag light on it, and you could see the dints crystal clear. We'd had a look around. There was nothing there. So we climbed back into the RV and we were talking, like, what in the name of God? And thinking, what could it be? A bear, or this, or that. We don't know, but we're not too bothered because we're our own entertainment. But we were sitting there for about, I don't know, it wasn't even long, probably 10, 15 minutes. And we could hear more howls. Distinctly, I remember three of them. You could pick them out from the distance that they were coming in, and they all kind of came close together. So you were thinking, that's not something moving from A to B. But when we heard that, it's weird because it still hits me in my stomach. We heard it almost sounded like a girl screaming, like, and a hand muffled her mouth. It was like that sort of if you could imagine a girl screaming, she goes, it was like that. And we could hear it crystal clear. Now you're talking, there's 12 lads sitting in an RV with an awful lot of shotguns. 2 dogs. The dogs aren't doing an awful lot. They can hear what's going on and we can hear it as well. And the dogs just kind of circled and sat and whimpered a little bit, an odd little look at the door and so on. So we basically heard the muffled sound, and then something hit the RV that we were all in, and it rocked it. I remember Stephen was standing up. I was sitting down the back of the window. I remember looking at Stephen, and I think it was John that was there. These 2 lads are about, John would be 30. Stephen would be closest to my own age, probably 47, 48. But the 2 of them got booked when the RV got hit. And it got absolutely slammed. Like, I told yourself, Vic, I work with middleweights and heavyweights and stuff, and if I got 3 or 4 heavyweights to run at an RV and hit it, that's what you're talking about. It was impacted with force, and it was enough force to make them kind of move. So we were like, what in the name of God? But this came seconds after it sounded like a girl's muffled voice or a girl's muffled scream. Is exactly what it sounded like. So when it went bang, we were like, what? Jake jumped and grabbed the lights. He put them on the dogs. Gus, that was there as well. Everybody went for their guns. And we kicked open the door and we stepped out slowly with our guns pointed. And there was nothing there. But we could still hear what sounded like gurgling on the ground up ahead of us. Probably, 40, 50 meters maybe. And you could hear it crystal clear. So there was 6 of us. I basically went with the group that went on the right hand side of this. You could just see a break in the trees on either side. I stuck with the lads that were on the right hand side because Nathan was there. This is Nathan and John, and then there's John Senior. This is all people that came with me from Dublin. But they're 2 younger lads than what I am, so I just says I'll keep an eye on them. Paul was there, and Paul is, I think he's 6 months younger than I am, so I think we all kind of, the lads in the middle kind of took care of the lads that were a little bit younger. And most of the old brave souls walked up on the left. And we walked, and the lads on the left got ahead of us. But we were walking, and John's maglite, now he has one of these long, it's probably about, it's about a size 9 shoe if you follow me. It's a maglite, and there's just a button on the top. But when you turn it on, the light is grey from it. But every now and then you have to give it a little tap because it seems to dim, and when you give it a tap, it kicks back in again. But we'd walked to the right, and we'd been coming along, and we could hear, everybody could hear it on the ground where it was coming from. So John was trying to shine his light, and you couldn't see because there was trees and there was a bit of brush and so on in the way. So the lads walked right up on the right hand side. Now, you'd have to imagine if they were at, we'll say 9 o'clock, we were on the far side at about 4 o'clock. And from where they were, John's light started to flicker and flare. Jack's light started to flicker. And he banged it a couple of times on his leg. My brother Eddie, he was stood in the group that went on the right hand side. And he said as he was getting closer to it, he says, Bobby, he says, I could see a shadow. He says, I didn't know. He says, he thought it was something after getting killed on the ground. He says, I thought it was a deer after getting mangled or whatever. So he walked up and he says, I bent down with me gun. He says, and he must have been probably 25 feet, I'd say maybe. And John hit his light and shined it straight on its face. And on the ground, there was a dogman, and it was holding the deer's snout, and it had the back of its neck, its claws dug into it, and it was biting into it. So Eddie is kneeling literally head height looking straight at this thing. John's light hit it and lit its whole face up. And it just absolutely scared the life out of him. We're stood at 4 o'clock, so all I can see is the back of it. From the back, you could see it had pointed ears. It had a mane standing up on the back of its neck, and to me, it looked like a wolf. And literally, as its face was illuminated, 3 or 4 of them just pulled the trigger and shot at it. And it turned and bolted. But it bolted straight past us nearly at 3 o'clock. Off into the woods. The thing was gone. I pulled the trigger on it. I think I actually hit the deer. What happened was we walked across then to where we were looking at what was left of, but it was only a small little thing, I'd say standing up, it probably wasn't even past 2 foot, but it was ripped to shreds. There was nothing, there was nearly no meat left on it. There was just blood on the ground. There was hair. And as the thing bolted, we walked across. And when we were literally stood within a foot of it, looking at it and looking at the lads stood to where we're left that are now about 5 feet away, must have even. Jack turned his torch and he put it on a tree. And we all looked. Now, this is all in the space of 10, 15 seconds. It's not even 15 seconds. John put his maglite torch on a tree and we all looked at it. And the first thing I seen was an arm. So standing up, it looked like the arm. I thought it was a weird branch for a second. It would have been its left arm was draped on the tree, but around it. And I couldn't believe my eyes because I thought, what in the name of it? And it moved. Literally the second my brain was saying to myself, that's just a weird looking big thick branch. It moved. And out of the side of the tree stepped the thing that lives in your nightmares. I'm 5'8", and looking at this from eyesight, it was easily 2 foot taller than I am, so 7.5 to 8 feet. But it was slightly hunching, looking at us, and fear just gripped every one of us, and we all just shot. We hit the tree, we hit the beast, we hit everything. And it just ran. It was gone so quick that every one of us, like I never felt so much fear in my whole entire life. From my feet right to be up, I don't know. I felt the coldness and the chill. And we just screamed, get back to the vans. So we went running back towards the RVs. But as we were running, you could still hear, not just to the side, everything ran towards 3 o'clock. We could still hear things coming from, back behind where we'd been when we were stood on the left of the two parties. And we could hear them coming from the right. So the only thing we done was, I had a 12 gauge shotgun. I just kept shooting everywhere I heard that coming from. I aimed my gun and shot, and we made sure everybody, especially the older lads, got back to the RVs. When we got back to the RVs, I don't even remember this. Most of this is a blur to me, but talking to the lads that I was with, Stephen says, Bobby, I had to go into the RV and come back out and get my keys because I left them on the table. I have no memory of that at all. I was just absolutely taken over by fear. And we got into the RVs and we just drove. And I remember sitting looking out the window and just, I don't know, not for love, nor money, nor the biggest pot of gold in the universe would you ever have gotten that shotgun on me. I mean, I literally, it scared the life out of me so much that I was waiting to see it come out of the woods. And it didn't. We followed the trail, we went back over the bridge. We were all just sat there in absolute shock and silence, looking at each other, looking out the windows. I mean, there was shotguns stuck out kitchen windows, there were shotguns stuck out bedroom windows. I absolutely didn't. I know when we all pulled our triggers and aimed at it, there was probably 5, 6, 7, 8 shots. There was 12 of us all together. And almost everybody pulled. And we hit the tree. I remember seeing bits of the tree coming off. I remember we hit the thing. I was nearly stood. It was nearly straight in front of me. And I know I hit it. And I know I hit it square in the chest when it stepped out. When the fright, because as I said, I've served overseas. I spent 12 years in the Irish Army. Yeah, it's fight or flight. And I just pulled the trigger and I just kept pulling the trigger. And when the older gentleman started to make haste back towards the RVs, we just made sure that we laid down as much cover as we could and hit everything that makes a noise. If we were shooting branches off trees and it was making more noise on the fall to the ground, we'd shoot it again and again. And when it stepped out from behind the tree, though, I said it earlier, I work with MMA fighters, middleweights, heavyweights, flyweights. There ain't no man gonna ever do anything to one of them. There's not a hope. They're too big, they're too fast, they're too strong. And we shot it. And I know we hit it. And it ran. It turned and bolted quicker than we've all seen lions and tigers and everything else on the National Geographic. These things don't move like that. They're not built like that. And all I can say is when I seen it, the only word that describe it is malice. There just seemed to be a malice in it. I don't know. It scared the life out of me. It scared the life out of me, but already so much that it's kind of destroyed a part of him. But the thing was, it was massive. The top half of it was bigger than any heavyweight I've ever worked with. I've worked with some really big lads, a couple of 300-pounders. To put a weight on this thing, 500-600 pounds maybe. You know, maybe, I don't know. Ask it to step on a weighing scales. But this is a thing that if it wanted to, it'd rip your head clean off your shoulders and you probably wouldn't even see it coming. We hit the thing and we hit it a lot of times. And we hit the thing on the ground as well. And they took it. And then they were able to physically move quicker than what we could ever do. And they didn't just run out of the circle of light. They ran and you could hear them thrashing and hitting and smashing and running back around. And we took right off back towards the RVs. We got back to the RVs anyway, and I honestly thought we're going to get hit by something. I was, even in the RV, the things don't move fast enough. And you're thinking to yourself, well, that done it. When it hit it, it done that by itself. If it was to get a runner there, maybe there was two of them, or maybe it put its whole heart into it. It'd knock your RV straight over. That was what I was thinking. So we just made sure that through the bedroom window, through the kitchen window, there was a shot going out of it. If we did see the thing moving, we were going to put as many holes in it as possible. And God help us if it didn't work, like, because you're never going to win against these things. So we got out of there. And every day since the trip, been just counting me blessings that, you know, that wasn't the end of the whole lot of us, because the group of us there that were there with the weapons that we had, we could have took down a small army and we couldn't take down two of this. And I do not think that there was only two. The recording nearly crystal clear. You can hear three. But was there more? Was there 4, 5 or 6? I just do not know. When we got back in the RVs, we started to head back towards Charlotte. There was a lot of panic. There was text messages and stuff, and we were all, I don't know, how do you deal with this? That's what we were doing. We were trying to deal and comprehend with what our brains had just looked at, our lawyers had seen, and we'd all shot lots of times, and it didn't drop it. And the further we got away from them woods, it did feel like there was, I don't know, the air got clearer. It just, the further distance we could put between ourselves and them woods, it just felt like something was lifted off your soul. When we got back on the road, we decided what we were going to do, because we'd have been back in Charlotte too quick, and we all knew it. Eddie was in a bad way sitting in the back of the RV. He was shaking and he was pale as a ghost, and all we kept doing was just whiskey. Give me another Jemmy, give me another Jemmy, give me another Jemmy. Just try to get the man as drunk as humanly possible. And we all decided that what we're going to have to do was slowly make our way back to Beaufort. We can get back to Beaufort. There's all the girls aren't there and so on, you know. We needed kind of space to comprehend and deal with what had happened to us. So when we got back to Beaufort, basically on the drive, we decided that, like, what can you do with this? None of us had a clue. Jake, now he'd be the oldest man that was there. He said it. I heard him say it. And it just didn't comprehend with me. He says it was a dog man. And I thought it was like, he was just describing what it kind of looked like, because it did, in fairness, look like, I don't know. It looked like just, I don't know, small pouched snout, long though, big teeth, built like a tank with the head of a dog. That's what it was. But Eddie just, I don't know, I'm probably rambling now, but it just shocked Eddie, and even talking about it again, it's weird when you say words to yourself in your head, you can deal with it better, but when you speak it out again, it just brings the image back so much that it, you know, it's traumatic is what it is. I have to be absolutely honest here. This part of me would love to absolutely wipe them all out, because it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But anyway, I'm rambling again. So we got back to Beaufort. Stephen's wife was there, his kids as well. So we basically pulled up and parked the RVs in the yard. We went in, we got washed up, and we were pre-rehearsed at that stage. We were just going to say we cut it short. It was too cold. And we'd seen enough, basically. And just put it down to jet lag. Because we all knew there's no way the women we've been married to for a collective 150 years between us all ain't going to pick up on your change of mood, especially not after something like that. As he said, it's been 3 months and a week and a day. And even now you can hear my voice break when I talk about it. And it's because, look, as a man, I'd have no problem. I don't get afraid of things. You know, I always deal with things rationally and sensibly. And, you know, that's what's allowed me progress in my career teaching mixed martial arts and in the security industries, is I have a rational mind and I deal with things the right way. But this is not the right way. They had them things running around in woods, like, I don't know. It's strange as well, because I still talk to Stephen and I talk to Little J and Big J, and they've enlightened me in the last couple of days about a story of a kid up in Kentucky. This is only within the last week, that was apparently taken out his window or taken from his backyard and dragged a couple of 100 feet up I've seen the picture, it's up a cliff covered in forestation and vegetation and all the rest of it, and it dragged them, I couldn't tell you how far, 200, 300 meters up the side of a mountain, up the side of a cliff, and killed him. That's a 13 or 14-year-old boy. I have a 14-year-old boy, and I teach a lot of 14-year-old boys. There ain't no way no wolf is going to do that. Since we got back, we've all kept in touch with each other. All of us that were there, because it's had the same effect on every single one of us. It's the most terrifying thing that's ever happened to any of us. It's life-changing. But Jake is from down that part of Carolina. He was born and bred there. And talking to him and Gus, now Gus is his best friend. Gus is another old lad from down that way. The two of these know more about this than, they knew plenty about it, but they just never mentioned it until it happened. But even that, Jake said it to me about the story he remembers his dad telling him. Now Jake must be hitting the 70 mark. So his dad, I don't know, you're probably going back 80, 90 years or more. His dad said one about two boys that went fishing on a creek. And the two boys were fishing for whatever, catfish or whatever. And something came out of a tree. Something lifted one of the boys in the boat straight out of the boat and pulled him into a tree. And Jake told me that story, that his dad told him that story. And his dad had heard it when he was 14, 15, like a younger man. And that's going all the way back to then. But like, they pull kids out of boats, killed them, obviously. It killed the child. The other child escaped and went back to the town and raised the alarm, and a search party and all went out for it. So that's the guts of 100 years ago. And then a week ago, you have a child being pulled out of his yard, his window, whatever it was. I can't remember the exact story, but it was a 13 or 14-year-old child from Kentucky. If this is these things, though, I don't know. I know wisdom kind of tells you in a way that, like, if they wanted to, they could, but they're predators. And as all predators do, if you're unlucky enough to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're going to get it. And I think you should deal with predators in a certain way. There's a huge part of me would love to know a way to get rid of them. And I would gladly volunteer to do it myself. It'd probably have to be from a blimp in the air with a high-power telescopic rifle, but they make you feel so uneasy. So uneasy that I'm back in Dublin and I'm shaking talking about them. I bring my dog on a walk every night, and I won't walk into the part of the park where the trees are. I walk up to the entrance and turn and walk back, because even when you get close to the gate, you feel it in your heart, and you feel it in your stomach, and you feel it in your soul. It's a breaky feeling. It's not nice. It's so not nice knowing that they are out there, and knowing that we shot the two of them. If there had been 10 people, they were all dead. There'd have been bits of them everywhere. There was bits of trees everywhere. I know we hit the thing, but how did it turn and run away and circle back towards us? And we could hear, as I said, noise everywhere. But that's exactly what it done. And I can't wrap my brain around that at all. Maybe this is another thing that Jake said. He says, we don't know, lads. He says, we could have shot that thing. He says, its anatomy might be slightly different. He says, but then again, you don't know. He says, because we did hit it. He says, who's to say it didn't run off and an hour or two later wasn't dead on the floor? Well, we don't know, I don't think so, though. I'd bet a penny to a pound that I pumped that straight in the chest. The one on the ground from behind, the one I said that looked more wolf-like. It's another thing as well, Vic. When it stepped out from behind the tree, it still had its hand on the tree, but its face was lit up. We had the torch straight on it. Jake had shining. Jake and Big J, and Jake both had. I think John had a small flashlight or torch, and Jake had his mag light. But they lit its face up. Now its ears weren't pointed up in the air or none of that. They were dropped down behind, kind of back towards the back of its head. They were pointed back that way, which is funny because I've always been around dogs my whole life, staffs and pit bulls and so on like that. And when you talk to them, and all your listeners will know this that have dogs, when you talk to them, when they're listening to you, they drop their ears. And it was the one little thing that kind of stuck in my head, because sadly I'm stuck with the image of its face in my head, and its ears were down. It looked like it was listening nearly. But we shot it. We kept shooting until it was gone, and then we ran and we just kept shooting back into the woods. And even where you were shooting, you were hearing sounds. Sometimes it was sounds, maybe things falling from where it had ran past. But we were hitting where there was crashes coming from, and nothing stopped it. We got in the vans, in the RVs, and we just got out of there as quick as we humanly could. And the fright of that, still, I'm sitting in Dublin in my house, and I can still see it, and I can still feel the butterflies in your stomach, and I kind of feel tense. And as I said, I don't get afraid of nothing. I never have been, and I used to say I never will be. I'll always stay with it a certain way, but this is rocky ground. This is something that I don't know. They shouldn't be messed with. But then again, it makes me feel so uncomfortable to know that they're there. As I said, there was 12 of us that seen it, standing there, leaning out from behind the tree, with its arm on the tree. It just leaned out and looked at us to its left. It just leaned to its left, and it stepped out. And that image will go with me to my grave. And every other lad that was there is the same thing. And there is not one of us, not to a man, has that not, affected in a way that, I don't know, it's just so scary. It's petrifying to see something like that stood in front of you, to do what we done, and for it to turn and just, it didn't, when I say run, it reminds me, you could stick Usain Bolt against this and give him a head start, and the thing would have him for breakfast in about 4 seconds. They're so fast. It was just gone. And then there was rustling and rattling from just different directions, and it just seemed like a sweeping circle out to one side. And we just kept shooting as the old lads made their ways back to the RVs, and we got out of there. And now that I'm sitting back in Dublin, I'm still not the better of it. And nor are any of the lads that went with us. There was 2 of the boys came down from California to meet us, Darden and Paul. And even the 2 of them, like they're Irish. Me and Gary know them years. Gary's the girl that married Karina from Shirley. It's all her fault. But the 2 lads are in California, and I've talked to Paul many a time, and even when you bring it up, he could be talking to you like, oh yeah, how's things, man? Everything's grand. The missus is cool. The kids are grand. How are you dealing with that thing, Paul? And his voice will break. And it's the same through the board with everybody that was there. It's for everybody out there that's saying, you all know what I'm talking about. Once you see one, it's a different ball game from then on. And it's mad because and I bet you'll all agree, you're curious and petrified at the same time, which is just such an odd, it's just a weird way of feeling. Like, I find a lot of days when I go into work, I just switch my brain off from everything that happened. I can just build a wall around it, and I just carry on in my normal day-to-day work. And I probably think I'm 100% at it, but I'm sure people that know me kind of have noticed since I've came back that I've been off. I know my wife definitely notices, but we use excuses for that. It's so scary, man.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. Of all the movie werewolves, which one did the second Dogman most closely resemble?
Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know. You see, when his face lit up, you could see the coarse hair, black hair. And you could see there was a little bit of grey around kind of the side of his face. But his build, I don't know one that I've ever seen that would be anywhere near this. Ever. I don't know any werewolf films that have anything like him in it at all. As he said, if you made a pouch out of your hand and put it on the end of your nose to your chin, that's what his mouth was like. Muscular face. Too many teeth and built like an absolute tank. I don't know, and I've seen plenty of werewolf films, American Werewolf in London and so on. Not plenty, I've seen probably a handful. But to say the second one was like anything I've ever seen before, no. I don't know. It was, I don't know. It's not like anything now of any film I've seen. The one on the ground now, my brother Eddie, and when the torch dropped on that face, he looked straight at it, and he said to me, Bobby, that was a werewolf. He says, the one on the ground, he says, which I don't know, maybe wrongly presumed was smaller, but I just thought it was smaller. But he says the ears are big, pointed, had a big black mane, kind of rusty brown mixed into its face. He says, and it was a werewolf. He says, that's exactly what it was. He says, it was a werewolf. He said, its snout and everything. He says, the teeth and all. He says, do you know the one out of American Werewolf in London? I said, I do. He says, it's like that with a lot more hair. So if that's any use to Vic, that'd be as close as I could get to with films. And that's kind of agreed across the board with us all. Like,
yikes. Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all.
The big fella that stepped out from behind the tree, I couldn't see the shape of his ears, you with me, because his ears were dropped down. His eyes, when it hit it, because I was kind of looking at a straight angle, his eyes didn't light up for the first second at the end. They just saying black, but it was black, short, coarse hair, kind of curled, like what a staff or a long-haired pincher would kind of have, that kind of hair. But its snout was way more pronounced. It was bigger teeth. I had rows of teeth going forward if you're with me. And it was just colossal, absolutely colossal. Width-wise, I don't know. I'm looking at me telly, it's probably 50 inches, I'd say. And it was as wide as that, from shoulder to shoulder. 40 inches, 50 inches, I'd say. But the one on the ground, Eddie said it, and he looked straight at this thing, and its face was lit up for him. And that scared that man for the rest of his days. And he says, that's what it was like, Bob. I had that type of face. He says, but there was like way more hair. He says, there was no fleshy bit on it. It was all hair. And the one that stepped out from behind the tree, that was, as he said, coarse, kind of, I don't know, dirty kind of black hair. But you could see like a bit of grey kind of on it. And the one on the ground had big ears, had a mane on its back. It was black. And from the front of it, I didn't see the front of it. I was seeing the side. I was seeing kind of like from a back angle, looking at it from like, I don't know. You're looking crossways anyway at it. And from what we seen of that there, I thought that's a wolf. And I remember Jake even shouted when it turned and scattered. He shouted it was a wolf. He goes, hey, watch yourself, lads. It's on you. It's a wolf or whatever he screamed. He screamed something. And it was gone. It went out at like 3 o'clock and we were stood at 4. So it was out of there. But Eddie saying that's face straight on. And he says, Bobby, it was a werewolf. He says, I looked straight at its eyes. He says, I didn't need to see the second one that stepped out. He says, I'd already seen that. He says, and I just froze. Because what else are you meant to do? He had a gun in his hands. He was looking down his shotgun. And I think he thought he was going to see a deer that was getting attacked. And he was going to put it out of its misery or do whatever. And that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that the change in him. And I don't see how you can ever go back 100% to... You can't ever go back to the way it was after you see one of them things, whether it be big, small, or whatever. They're not meant to be out there, and yet they are.
That's right. Unfortunately, they are. What can you tell us about their leg structure? Was it more canid style or hominid style in appearance?
Well, the one that stepped out from behind the tree stepped out. I didn't see no legs or nothing. I seen its face and its torso. And I shot it. As quick as I realised. The hand looked like, as I said, it looked like a branch. A big branch off a tree sitting at a funny angle. Because it just did look like a big, long, muscly arm. And then it slid up the waist. And it tilted its head out and then it just stepped out. So, it must have been, I didn't see, I seen its face and I shot it, but all the other lads that were there all said the same thing. They says, Bobby, when we latched eyes onto the first one, we thought it was a wolf. And when it got out of there, the way it turned, that's not like a wolf. But when the second one stepped out, we all just seen it and we all just shot it. Within seconds, we shot it. Eddie was still kneeling on the ground, frozen in fear, is exactly what that is. But seeing their legs, my brain didn't register, nor did the people that were with me. We registered nothing. We seen its face. We seen its head. We seen the size of its head. And we seen the width of its shoulders. Because it stepped pure into vision. We could all, it was almost a cheek. Like, I don't know. We're all tilled up to beat the band and it just stepped out from behind a tree. Boo. So we shot it and it didn't do much damage to it. But I've heard a couple of shows, people said they heard popping and they said the legs were human-like or they were more canine. The one on the ground, I was saying that from behind and it looked like a wolf. Exactly like a wolf. But when it turned and ran, it was on all fours. And it was in darkness as quick as, if you're with me, it was gone. But I've already given you the description that the people gave that were looking at that head on. The one that stepped out from behind the tree, this is all 12 of us stood within 8-9 foot of each other as a group from the beginning to the end of it. It's about 8-9 feet, and we were looking straight at it. I don't know, did we even see its leg? Was there brush or something in the way? Because all I remember was its head. The arm came up off the tree, its left arm, and the head just tilted, and it just stood flush, looking straight at us. And we shot it. Maybe one of us that wasn't just absolutely frozen and rooted to the spot, we shot that. And we didn't look at its legs. We just, I don't know, when I pulled that trigger, I wanted to see it explode. It was what I wanted to start. It made me a happy man, but that wasn't the case. So I can't really give a description of its lower part. I can't tell you, but the top of it, yeah, it's got how would you put it? To give you an exact description, its pectoral muscles would be, I don't know, 3 times the size of somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. Its arms were big enough to wrap around a tree and still have enough from its elbow down to its hand to be leaning on the tree before the thing stepped out. And it's just pure muscle. If you look at a really, really, really big pit bull or a really big star, something that's muscly like that, they're like little babies compared to this thing. This thing would absolutely mull you and your dog if you're stupid enough to walk into a forest where the things are. They're just too big and too strong. And scary is not the word. But its legs, I don't know, we've seen its torso. Its pectoral muscles are huge. Its traps, like the thing nearly had no neck. Its arms, its biceps. I don't know. Pick a UFC heavyweight champion and multiply him by 2 or 3, I'd say. And then put him on steroids for a little while, from the top half upwards.
Was its head in proportion, size-wise, to its body, or disproportionately large?
It looked like a set from top to bottom. Yeah. Its head was as big as you would expect on shoulders of that size. It was big. I'm 5'8", its head was the size of my torso. It was big, and its shoulders were... I look at a lot of fighters, and I say to myself, what weight are you fighting at? And he says to me, I'm a middleweight, and I say, no, pal. You want to cut your weight down and drop down a couple of classes. I see other lads that are mala heads is what we call them. They have a big old head and a smaller body. Now, you can build them lads up. You can nearly step them up in class. This looked fully grown, fully mature, in its prime, in its peak. Its head was the size, the fit a body of that size. No bigger, no smaller. And as he said about it nearly having no neck. So from its, how would you put it, from where its neck is, it's trap muscles. When it's holding onto a tree and it's 8 foot tall. I don't know. There's nothing, if there had been 20 of us, even hearing the stories that Jake told me about people hunting it down in the old days with like shotguns and pitchforks and brave men. Because as I said to you, Vic, we'd want a cannon or a tank or a helicopter to go hunting these things. Because on foot in a forest in the trees, you're in so much trouble if these things want to take you. They'll take you. And I think even if you had 20 people with you, I think you'd have, I don't know, I think you'd have your hands completely full with one, let alone 3, 4 or 5, like.
Well, it's a common belief in the Dogman community that almost all of them have disproportionately large heads, but very few of the ones that are seen and reported as being seen actually do have the oversized heads, so that does make sense. Considering how ineffective your bullets were to them, why do you think they didn't attack you after you shot them?
Honestly, that's another thing that we talked about a fair bit on the way back. I think we walked right into where they were hunting. They already had their food basically on the table, obviously. Because there wasn't, as I said, there wasn't very much meat left on that there. Like there was chunks gone out of it. I think the reason that they didn't attack us, number one, looking at it logically, is because they were in the middle of eating. Or number two, people say that sometimes they'll just scare you. I don't know. It's a funny one because when you look at the that child from Kentucky, if that was one. You have that story from years and years back that I told you. Jake's dad told him about the kid being pulled out of a boat with him and his friend. They attacked him. So, as I said, predators. Sometimes predators, a normal standard predator, thank God living in Ireland, we have nothing to worry about over here but deers. But in America, mountain lions, alligators, bears, brown bears, you've absolutely a truckload of problems over there. Being honest, if you want to go and stay in the woods, you have to be armed. But predators are opportunists. But predators all think in a certain way. People that say, like, oh, alligators are clever, and they're not clever in this way. These could have killed us if they wanted to. Instead of going back, if he'd have went forward, he'd have been on us in seconds. And he'd have just smashed through. As we said, there's 3 of our party that they're old. You know, they're late 60s, early 70s. I said earlier, Jake could be the eldest. Actually, Gus is a couple of years older than him. But, like, you know what I mean? You're talking lads late 60s, early 70s. And for something that size, I know, a direct smack off something built like that will kill a deal at that age, definitely. And it could have, if it wanted, the one on the ground as well. So it's a puzzling question, why didn't it? When, if they wanted to, they definitely could. You know, they definitely could. I don't know. There's a line in me that keeps going, but we did hit the thing. Later on, did something happen to it? Did we kill it, basically? And leave it for a while to die? Or did we just shoot it and just, I don't know, annoy it? Whatever. But why did it not attack us when we shot it? Come here to me. That's the exact same as saying, why not in a fight deliver the knockout blow? It's because you don't want it. And that's the truth of that. If it wanted to, it could have. And it didn't want to.
It's really good that you realize that. You said you could see bullets hitting it, but did you see any blood coming out of the wounds?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for a split second or so. Yeah, I thought it was bleeding. Definitely. Like, I know when everybody shot, and there's a few of them there, there's about 7 or 8, 9 names. I know that between them, they hit that one and the one on the ground. And everybody says that, yeah, we took a bit off of a few of them. When we hit them, you could see bits of the tree going here and there and everywhere. And you could also see shrapnel in the back. So we know we hit it and we took chunks off of it. You know, not completely visible chunks, because, as I said, you've got an owl lad with a pocket torch and you've got another lad with a maglite, and both of them are trying to pull the triggers of a shotgun at the time. So once you can see generally what you're hitting. But yeah, unanimously, every one of us said the same thing. We definitely hurt it. We definitely hit it. And we all thought we seen liquid, claret, blood, whatever way you want to call it. But even with the maglite on it, it was much. It's not like when we bleed, it's bright red. This was darker, even with a light on it. But it's not to say the bullet's done nothing. But it's a different thing. What are you dealing with? If you're dealing with something, I don't. It's so hard to explain. Is this a thing from somewhere else that bullets don't hurt it? That you can't kill without something different? Or literally, when we shot it, did we hurt it? But it can take that as, it can carry that, if you understand me. But we all thought, every one of us thought that we seen, how would you put it? As you hit a target, you see the spray coming out the back. You see what we call claret in Ireland. You'd see it moving on its chest and so on. And then it was gone. So, I mean, we're seeing this in a split second. You know, the space of 2 to 3 seconds, I think, took in 90% of most of the people staying there, their vision of it and how quick it was dealt with. It was so fast. But still, you have that freeze-framed image in your brain, like, yeah, they bleed. Definitely, they bleed. And when you hit them with a gun, it's what baffled you, though, because physically it turned and ran, and it just, I mean, it was gone in a split second, a couple of seconds. You couldn't see it anymore because it was so dark. But then you could hear it. I literally said it earlier. I followed it in a loop as we were retreating back towards your base. and it just seemed to circle. So we shot it. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe even, 11, because I know Eddie didn't pull his trigger at all. He was just, he was a gunner at that stage. But the rest of us, I think almost everybody, you could, even the smell of powder, we hit the thing. And our bullets hit it. It bled, as far as I'm concerned. I put my hand on the Bible and say, yeah, I'm convinced from seeing what happened. I seen something rolling down its chest. And so did the rest of them, as well as stuff flying out the back. I mean, if we could bring you all and show you the tree it was stood beside, you could see things coming off the tree everywhere, kind of like as the bullets, as the bits, the little metal bits hit it, you could see shrapnel come off the tree. So the same thing was coming off of your Dogman. But your Dogman turned and ran quicker than any of us could move. It just ran and arched into the darkness and then back around in a circle. I could just hear, something at pace that weighs a chunk running through forestry. You can't miss it. You don't need to be no tracker or nothing like that. It's unmissable. But it wasn't just from that. We could hear other things as well, running and thrashing about in the woods, like. And I don't know how I zeroed it as far as I was concerned. I had my shotgun down, and the second I seen it looking, I just boom, and I know I got it in the chest. Now, if you shoot anybody from that distance with a shotgun in the chest, and you do it by yourself, that's a goner. But there was a few of us, and it was that, I don't know, for that point, that temporarily uninjured, that I was able to sprint out there at stupid speed and do what it done. So, I don't know. As I said to you, the next time I'd love to be in a tank. Literally.
It really is a disconcerting thought to think that you can hit something with so many shotguns at such a close range and it just runs off. Yeah, that doesn't exactly give you the warm and fuzzies. No doubt about that.
You ever hear that when people say you get disheartened by a thing? That there should be put up for the metaphoric meaning of it, to hit something. I'm certain I hit it straight in the chest and it didn't drop it. And I felt my heart go, oh no. That in my soul, I went, oh no. Because it should have been gone. And I wasn't the only one for it, and there was a few of us. And I don't know, a big ginormous elephant gun or a bazooka or what you'd need, but I don't know. Are they a deterrent maybe to them or something, like the way you can zap a lion with a electric shock thing, are they that? Did this thing run away and it's not dead? Because if that's the case, Vic, that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, that definitely would be. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did run away and not die. I guess we're never going to know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. You told us about the howls you heard in the distance that night. What you didn't tell us about, though, was that you recorded them. Would you mind if I played those howls now for the listeners?
No, not at all, Vic. You can use the howls. We took 2 pictures of the RVs, where one hit over the window and the other one hit the door. You're more than welcome to put them all up. What I'll do is I'm going to get a map and I'm going to pinpoint exactly where we seen it.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to post those pictures as tonight's show is playing in several different places so that the listeners can check out the map and they can check out the pictures of the damage to the RVs. Now, as far as the audio goes, let's play that now. Let's play that one more time. Sitting in the RVs listening to those vocalizations, I can't imagine what must have been going through your heads. Well, Bob, we're about out of time, but before we get out of here, do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
I do, Vic. These things, I don't know. These things are just not to be messed with. Observing them would definitely be the only option for people out there. And the more people this story reaches on all the other stories, because there are so many out there. I've seen Dogman Encounters and I've scrolled through your videos and there's hundreds of them. But people need to be aware of what's out there. Because these things, I don't know, are they warding you off of where they are? Are they, because obviously some of the stories about that boy being dragged up the side of the mountain in Kentucky and so on, that's what you could be dealing with. And the thing that was there that night could have done that to 12 grown men. So be extra careful if you're going walking in the woods. Be extra careful and don't go too far into them. And if you are, bring a gun, bring your dogs. Jeez, even bring your dogs. Your dogs are no use to you. They wanted nothing to do with it. We leashed them and they wanted to just sit on the ground. They may as well have not been there. They sense the predator that's there. So if you were to go walking and you live near the woods and you bring a dog and your dog just starts to seem a bit like, I don't want to be here, listen to your dog, definitely listen to your dog. Because if it comes to one of these things, there's not a hope. I don't even think, even if, as I said, I'm 5'8" and I'm fit and healthy. I've had many fights in the past. I've done a bit of MMA and so on, and I'm a rough and ready type of guy, but not a hope. This thing would absolutely just tear you limb from limb. I think even a smaller one would cut through you. I think you'd have your hands absolutely full with it. So my closing thoughts is, if you're going to go for a walk tonight after listening to the show, you're a brave man. I wouldn't recommend it. They are not to be messed with. It's, as I said, it's the most petrifying thing I've ever seen in my whole life. And I don't talk to people about it because I'm still trying to, stop shaking from the encounter, basically. I know what it was. I know what he's saying. And so does everybody else that was there. And it's just, it touches you deep down inside where, fighters that get it before a fight, they feel butterflies and they feel, a little bit anxious. This is taking that to a whole other level. This is like a fight you're never going to win. If they wanted to, they would just absolutely rip you limb from limb. So for the people out there, you've got to be so aware of what you're dealing with. And God bless you if you live in the woods. Move to Ireland. You might be safer.
Yeah, I've got my fair share of letters from people who do live in the woods, and after they listen to the show, they say it's never going to be the same for them, and I can understand why. But having said that, Bob, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing that experience with us. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, Vic. And I want to thank you so much for being able to alert people to what's there and put it on the map exactly where it was, and the audio and everything. I cannot thank you enough, because what really got me was people that know about this and still do it. Well, that's your own choice. I couldn't blame you, whichever way you want to go about it. Because the one thing with them is there's just such a curiosity that's being awoken, it's on a primal level nearly. But so is the fear I feel from them and everybody else that's there. But I just can't thank you enough for being able to put the story out, being able to put a pin on the map to where it exactly happened, and to be able to tell the community to, tread carefully if you're going anywhere near that Lumber State National Park. It's outskirts. Definitely can't thank you enough, Vic.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks again so much. Have a great night. If you've had a Dogman encounter of your own and would like to speak with me, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you.